In a world where talent meets destiny, there are moments that remind us of the power of pure heart and unshakable dreams. Welcome to our channel, where we bring you real stories that inspire, move, and touch the soul. Today's story is one that melted millions of hearts across the world, the story of a poor Filipino boy whose voice rose from the streets and reached the grand stage of America's Got Talent, where tears, silence, and applause became one. It was a humid afternoon in Manila. The sun hung low, and the narrow streets buzzed with life, jeepneys honking, vendors calling out, children chasing after makeshift paper balls. Among them was a thin young boy, barefoot, with torn shorts and a shirt faded by time. His name was Angelo. At just 13, he had seen more pain than most adults. His father had left when he was 5, and his mother worked at a small eatery, earning barely enough to buy rice for the night. But despite the hunger, despite the hardship, Angelo had something rare, a dream that refused to die. Every evening, when others went home, Angelo would sit by a corner of the street near an old bakery. With an empty tin can and a cracked radio, he would sing. The sound wasn't perfect, it was raw, trembling, filled with pain and hope. People would stop and listen, drop coins, and sometimes even tears. Music was his escape, his friend, and his only way to tell the world he was still here. One day, while singing the song his mother loved, a foreign tourist stopped by. She watched him, recording quietly on her phone. His voice echoed through the street, soft at first, then soaring, reaching notes that seemed impossible for a boy his age. The woman was mesmerized. When the song ended, she approached him and asked in a gentle tone, "What's your name, young man?" He shyly replied, "Angelo, ma'am." She smiled, slipped a few bills into his tin can, and said, "Never stop singing. The world needs to hear you." What Angelo didn't know was that this moment would change his life forever. The woman uploaded the video to social media with a simple caption, "This poor Filipino boy has the voice of an angel." Within days, the video went viral, millions of views, thousands of comments, and an ocean of people cheering him on. Among those who saw the video was a talent scout for America's Got Talent. They reached out, asking if Angelo would audition. When the message came through, Angelo thought it was a joke. How could a boy who sang on the streets of Manila end up on one of the world's biggest stages? But fate has a strange way of finding those who truly believe. With the help of local sponsors and donations from people who saw his video, Angelo and his mother flew to Los Angeles. It was their first time leaving the Philippines, their first time on a plane, and their first time feeling that maybe, just maybe, life could turn around. When they arrived at the AGT studio, the bright lights and the enormous crowd overwhelmed Angelo. He held his mother's hand tightly. She looked down at him and whispered, "Sing with your heart, Anik. No matter what happens, I'm already proud." Those words gave him strength. Backstage, the other contestants rehearsed, laughed, and prepared. Angelo sat quietly, clutching the small rosary his mother had given him. His shoes were borrowed, his shirt too big, but his heart was ready. When it was finally his turn, the host smiled warmly and asked, "What's your name?" His voice trembled as he said, "My name is Angelo, I'm from the Philippines." The crowd cheered softly. "And what will you be doing for us today?" "I will be singing, sir." "All right, Angelo, take your time, and the stage is yours." The music began, soft piano chords echoing through the silent auditorium. The judges leaned forward. The boy closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Then, from that small frame, came a voice that no one expected. It was powerful, pure, and emotional, like a cry of the soul. The song spoke of dreams, pain, and love. His voice climbed to impossible heights, then softened into whispers that made the entire room hold its breath. People began to cry, even the judges. One by one, phones came up to record, capturing a moment that would soon go viral around the world. Halfway through the song, his voice cracked slightly. The audience gasped, but instead of faltering, Angelo smiled, wiped a tear, and continued. His strength, his courage, his heart poured out with every note. By the time he finished, there was silence, the kind that only happens when something extraordinary has just unfolded. And then, like a wave, came the applause. Everyone rose to their feet. The audience cheered, clapped, and shouted his name. Angelo looked shocked. He covered his mouth, tears streaming down his face. Simon Cowell, who rarely shows emotion, leaned forward and said softly, "That was one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard on this stage." Heidi Klum added, "You didn't just sing. You told a story. You made us feel your heart. Sofia Vergara wiped her eyes and said, "You are what this show is all about, talent, passion, and heart." The host came close, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. "How are you feeling, Angelo?" The boy could barely speak. "I'm just thankful," he whispered. Then, before he could say more, the audience began chanting, "Golden buzzer. Golden buzzer." The judges looked at each other. Tears glistened in their eyes. Simon smiled and nodded slightly. Suddenly, Heidi stood up, walked toward the golden buzzer, and slammed her hand down. The confetti burst into the air, golden and shining, falling over Angelo like rain from heaven. His mother, watching from backstage, cried uncontrollably. Angelo fell to his knees, his tiny hands raised to the sky. It was his dream, his miracle, unfolding right before the world. After the show, interviews poured in. People wanted to know more about the boy who sang from his soul. When asked what inspired him, he said, "My mother. She never gave up on me. When I sang on the streets, she stood by me even when people laughed. I just wanted to make her proud." Reporters followed them to their small hotel, where his mother hugged him tightly and whispered, "You did it, Anik. You showed them who you are." The clip of his performance spread across every social media platform, hundreds of millions of views. Celebrities shared it, praising the purity of his voice. Some said it was the most emotional AGT audition ever. Offers began to come in, invitations to perform, to record, to appear on talk shows. But through it all, Angelo remained humble. He would always say, "I just want to sing, to make people feel something real." Weeks passed, and the semifinals approached. Many wondered if he could repeat the magic of his first performance. On the night of the show, the stage lights dimmed again. Angelo walked out, calmer this time but still nervous. He looked into the crowd and said, "This song is for every child who dreams even when life is hard." The audience cheered. The music began, a slow, emotional ballad that built like a sunrise. His voice was even stronger now, filled with new confidence. Every note soared, and by the end, the audience once again rose to their feet, applauding until their hands hurt. He didn't win AGT, another act took the title that season. But for millions of people, Angelo was the real winner. Because what he gave wasn't just a performance, it was a reminder that greatness doesn't come from privilege or fame, but from courage, love, and faith. When he returned to the Philippines, he was greeted like a hero. Streets filled with people waving flags and banners with his name. Children from his old neighborhood ran to him, cheering. The same corner where he once sang for coins now became a place where dreams were born. Soon after, a foundation reached out to support his education and help his mother open a small restaurant. Life began to change. They moved into a modest home, no longer worrying about food or rent. But Angelo never forgot where he came from. Every weekend, he would visit poor communities, singing for children, donating food, and telling them, "You can do it too. You just have to believe." Months later, AGT invited him back as a guest performer. When he stepped on that stage again, now older, more confident, and with a smile that could light up the room, the crowd went wild. He performed a new original song he had written himself, about hope, faith, and never giving up. The judges stood again, teary-eyed. Simon said, "You've grown, Angelo, but your heart remains the same. That's why people love you." After the show, back in his dressing room, Angelo sat quietly looking at his reflection. He thought of the dusty streets, the cracked radio, his mother's tired hands, and all the nights they went hungry. A soft knock came at the door. His mother entered, smiling through tears. "You made it, Anik." He hugged her tightly. "No, Mama, we made it." Those words captured everything, the struggle, the love, the journey. Years passed. Angelo's name became known not just in the Philippines but across the world. He performed in charity concerts, helped build schools, and started a foundation for street children who wanted to sing. He never stopped giving back. In interviews, when asked what his secret was, he would always smile and say, "When you sing from the heart, people will always listen." One day, a journalist visited him and asked, "Do you ever miss those old days, singing on the street?" He thought for a moment and replied, "Sometimes. Because that's where I found my voice, not just to sing, but to speak to the world. Those days made me who I am." That humility, that grace, made him beloved everywhere he went. The story of Angelo became a legend, a reminder that no dream is too far, no background too poor, and no struggle too heavy for a heart filled with hope. His life was proof that miracles don't just happen on TV, they happen when courage meets opportunity, and when someone refuses to give up. Even now, years after that golden buzzer moment, clips of his audition continue to inspire new generations. People comment, "I still cry every time I watch this. He sang from his soul. This boy reminded me what true talent is." And somewhere in Manila, under the same sun, another little boy might be watching, dreaming, singing softly to himself, believing that one day his voice, too, might be heard. As the video of Angelo's golden buzzer moment continues to circle the globe, it stands not just as a performance but as a story, a human story of love, pain, faith, and triumph. Because when a poor Filipino boy stood barefoot on a stage half a world away, he didn't just sing a song. He sang the truth, that no matter where you come from, if you hold on to your dream, the world will listen. And that is the magic of Angelo, the boy who came from nothing but gave everything, whose voice turned struggle into strength and pain into beauty. The world may forget many performances, but it will never forget the one that made an entire audience cry, stand, and believe again. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories like this. Remember, no dream is too small, and no heart is too poor to shine.